ladies and gentlemen, in the blue corner, standing at a sleek 5'11", 245 pounds, the tumultuous tempest of technique, Thomas Lilly. And in the red corner, at a curvaceous 5'11", 315 pounds, the jovial juggernaut of judgment, John Cheryl Sheridan. A meeting of the masters of mastication. Turn your attention as they delve deep into all things lifting and more. This is Peak Speak.
We're back.
We're back.
Another Peak Speak.
In the same room again.
In the same room.
And an actual camera, not an iPhone.
Yes. Absolute pleasure to be here at Burley Strength.
It's a nice shirt you got.
Thank you. This is my rainbow Burley Strength shirt.
It's great.
To support the MX division.
Indeed. So you're in town for GPC States, which is on tomorrow.
Yeah, GPC States. I've got one lifter, my man Toby. I've been coaching Toby now for, must be about 2.5 years.
Yeah, he's competed here a couple of times.
Yeah, I've met Toby once. He drove 12 hours to come see me and our physio. He's a fucking legend, Toby.
Excellent. Is he going to do well?
Yeah, he should do really well. He trains really hard. He works really hard as well. So, yeah,
excellent.
He's a good guy.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're doing the whole generic podcast thing,
recap.
which is when you recap the big competition that just went. So this is the Pro Raw recap episode.
Indeed.
What'd you think?
So I was only there for 2 of the 3 days. So I missed out on watching the supers and the single lift stuff because I had a wedding to go to, which was a lot of fun. But the 2 days I saw, man, were great. I mean, Pro Raw is always a really fun event to go to. I think I actually had this conversation with Dan Rucci yesterday. Just the exposure and the atmosphere that you get in a venue like that is really cool. I think that one of the things that Pro Raw does really well is expose a group of people to powerlifting that are like kind of in the same niche but not. You know what I mean? Like, and I've had this discussion with a few people. Like
they're touching a lot of bars and weights. Yeah,
and a lot of those people wouldn't come to a powerlifting meet ordinarily, but because they're there for the Arnolds anyway, they get the advantage of being able to see all of the best lifters in the country. So I think that's always really cool. I always enjoy catching up with a bunch of people that I haven't seen in a long time, which is also fun.
Yeah. So maybe as a bit of a preamble to this, can you tell people how many Pro Raws you've been to?
So I competed at Pro Raw 1.
Which was like in
the Frankston Dolphins footy club change room. I almost killed myself with a pair of squat stands because I was used to squatting in a mono where you can like hang off the bar as you get underneath it, and so I hung off the bar and the squat stands almost fell back onto me. That was a fun time.
Were you equipped?
No, because it was Pro Raw, dude.
Yeah, but remember that Pro Raw 5 they had an equipped division.
Did they?
Yeah. Alex Zerber competed equipped. And someone else did. I thought you did, but it obviously wasn't you. No, it was Alex Zerber and someone else.
No, because I think I went to 1, like Pro Raw 1, and then I don't think I went again until Pro Raw 6.
Yes, you competed at Pro Raw 6 as well.
Yeah, on a whim, and I came dead last. But I did I won a drive in Emad's Ferrari, so it was worth it.
And then the Pro Raws after that? Yeah,
so then I've been to, I think most of them. I didn't go last. So what was last year? 10? 10. But did we skip 9? I feel like we skipped 9.
What do you mean skipped it?
I don't think there was a 9.
No. There was Pro Raw 9. Yep. I competed at Pro Raw 9.
Maybe I'm thinking of iPhones. Anyway, so yeah, I competed at 6. I think I was at 7 and 8. And I don't think I... Was 7 the first Arnold's?
No,
8 was the first. Yeah, Arnold's. So I was at the first Arnold's at 8. I missed 9 because it was a week before we had a baby. And then I was there for 10?
Yep.
No, yeah,
11.
11. So maybe I missed 10 then.
And
I was at 9.
Yep.
9 was where Nathan fucked his knees.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're definitely there.
So I was there for 9, missed 10.
Yep.
At 11.
Yep.
Where did you come into the pro raw scene?
I brought down Alana Andrews,
yeah.
who was a lightweight female lifter back in the day, to Pro Raw 5, and I've been at everyone since. So
nice.
I competed at Pro Raw 6. I came third in the 95s with 780 total. And then I was at 7, 8, competed at 9, was at 10, coached and competed at 11. So I've been to everyone since 5.
So it's changed a lot.
Yeah. So that's the point of this preamble, is like, you've seen it from the absolute beginning.
Yeah, man. Like I remember being on the Oz bodybuilding forum when Marcus announced the idea of Pro Raw, and it was actually my first, like, sanction's the wrong word, but it was my first real raw comp, because my first comp was a unsanctioned, like, novice meet. My second comp was Capo Nationals in 2011.
Yep.
And then the first Pro Raw was 2012, I think.
Okay. So he 1 to 5 then must have ran in a short time.
Yeah, that's the thing that throws me with the number. My memory's not good enough to.
Because from 7 to 8, they went from September and then into March.
Yes.
So it was a short time frame, because that's when it went from headquarters to the Arnold.
Pro Raw.
Yeah.
To Arnold's, yeah. Yeah, so look, man, like I had a great time at Pro Raw 1. It was the cool comp. It was something to be involved in that was, you know, like Nathan Jones resigned from PA so he could compete at Pro Raw.
Yep.
So it was really cool to be a part of, and just to walk into something like the Arnold's, you know, last week and see the fucking just sheer number of people.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere, and not like all of that aside, the quality of the lifting is fucking phenomenal, man.
Unreal.
You know, I think it's been quite, like, obviously with the federation side of powerlifting, there's a lot of growth on all of it, but Pro Raw, I think, because it brings a lot of people together, has shown shown the insane progression that, you know, like, Gawain beat me at Pro Raw 1 and totaled, like, in the low 800s.
Yeah.
What did he total on the weekend? Like 1,000 something?
1040, I think.
Yeah. And he didn't even win. Like, what did he come, third?
I thought he came second.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was second.
Yeah, maybe he was. So it's been really cool to see the growth of it, and, you know, to see it evolve out of the Frankston Dolphins footy shed and into what it is now.
It's interesting what you just said, though, because you said, like, one of the things you love about it was coming back and just talking to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And that's all it is for us. Like, for us, it's no different to having a comp here if everyone came here.
Yeah.
Because we're so numb to the environment that's there. But we get to see that environment change and grow every year.
Yeah, man.
And this year was unreal.
Yeah,
like,
dude. And just
huge.
the spot in the expo that they had was really cool.
Yeah.
I think they need to do a strongman style tiered seating thing.
Yeah.
I think that would make it, like,
even if they had half the rows at the front flat and then the back a tier, that would kind of make it unreal.
I just think it's hard with the expo setup, because
Yeah.
the strongman set it up in a way that it's like a
run,
relatively narrow run, because a lot of their events are moving and they're running essentially two lanes, right?
Yeah.
So you can have the seating on either side looking down on it. It's a bit harder with a powerlifting comp because you need the platform and it's only one person on the platform, and you need the space for the warm-up area and stuff like that as well. So
you almost need a Roman amphitheater arrangement.
Yeah, well, if we could do that and then add in some battles to the death, that'd be pretty fun. It'd add a new element of shock and awe to powerlifting.
So in kind of recapping, what stood out to you? Let's go with the quality of lifting. Who stood out to you?
So I spent most of Friday judging the women.
Mm-hmm.
Man, watching Steffi Cohen compete in person was fucking wild.
Pretty phenomenal.
Like, so I sat on the side of her. I don't think I judged her squat and her bench, but I definitely judged the deadlifts. And so I got to see her pull 230, and to see her, like, was she 58 kilos or something like that? Pulling 230, like, I didn't realize quite how small she was in real life.
She's tiny.
Yeah. But watching her pull that, and just the way she handles herself as a lifter's really impressive. I find it hard to pick out standout performances from the women just because I was judging all day and I don't see faces in the same way. Like, it's just really hard to remember who's who and what's what because I'm so busy watching the lifting part.
Yeah.
Saturday, I had a really good time, I think, other than the fact that it was a flight too long, which we spoke about with Ed. I just think it was too many lifters. I don't think, with 3 weight classes, I don't think you need 4 flights. I think you need 3 flights of 15 and you get the 15 best lifters that want to be there. I can understand where Marcus is coming from with the like needing to fill the day up, but then they ran long. So watching the 95s was really intense because obviously Deacon bombed in the bench, leaving Matt and Patrick to battle it out for first place, and that came down to the last deadlift. I think all 3 weight classes that day came down to the last deadlift in there.
Yep.
So I always love watching Stenzel compete, but I think it was especially impressive to watch him this time because of the shift that you can just see in the way he handles himself on the day. I think that was really cool to see. Like, obviously he's a friend of mine and I always enjoy watching him lift anyway, but just seeing the fact that he spent the whole day with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
And I know Stenzel well enough to know that that's a big thing.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That was really cool. And Pat just came out and did what Pat does, which is always very impressive. Critter and Les was a great battle, as it always is. I saw Les getting a lot of massage work with one of those jigsaw guns, and I was a little concerned that he was going to spend his whole day cramping up again.
I love Pro Roll 9.
Yeah, so he managed to avoid that and come out with a win, which was pretty cool. And then the 110s, fucking Will Crozier almost completely shitting the bed and then managing to come out and pull
387.5
87 and a half for the win. Like, that was just fucking wild, man. And I got to see that footage that Sam got, media team shout out, of his deadlift. It's fucking cool, man. And that's where you really get to see the atmosphere that
for sure
is, I think, just a bit hard to see in some of the videos, you know, and like, you're never going to be able to feel it in the same way. But the atmosphere at that point was electric. It was fucking 7 o'clock at night. The comp had been running all day, but there were still hundreds of people there watching. It was really cool. So yeah, I don't really have much to comment on the Sunday because I wasn't there, but like, you can't talk about Sunday without talking about Dylan, but I'll leave that to you. Who was your standouts? You had fucking 20 lifters across the weekend?
Yeah, I haven't counted yet, but it'd be close to 20. So I had about 20, and I lifted myself as well.
Yeah.
So that was a cool perspective to have, to be backstage from a coaching perspective and involved in a lot of those battles, but also get the feel of the comp lifting in it myself.
Yeah, because it's a different feeling.
It is, yeah. It's a little bit of a different experience, I think. And, you know, of course I'm going to be a little bit biased to my own lifters.
Yeah.
And partially
I'd
because...
be concerned if you weren't.
Partially because I like my lifters, and partially because I was watching them a lot closer. I was invested in them, and especially on the Saturday where I had, I think, 12 lifters.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to watch anyone else when you're busy all day. You know?
Yeah. And that for me was actually one of the enjoyable parts about not having any powerlifters. Like,
you got to sit back and enjoy
we had a
it.
few strongman people, but other than that, I was just there to hang out and help judge and, you know, help you wrap knees and stuff. And
yeah, well, shout out to John from Burley Strength for helping me wrap a lifter on the Saturday.
Fucking rock climbing the day before and deadlifts. And then wrapping knees. I wrapped, and I haven't wrapped knees in a while. I wrapped one pair of knees and was like, oh my God, my forearms are fucked.
You poor thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm a finely tuned athlete.
So the highlight on the Friday for me was Bryony Williams. So she was one of my lifters.
Yeah, she's so strong, man.
Squatted 265, bench 120, deadlifted 255 for the win. It came down to the last deadlift in the 75 plus class. She just handles herself amazingly. It's the first comp that I've coached her into, and the first comp that I've seen her lift closely, and she's just a really, really stellar lifter.
Yeah, nice.
Like, absolutely fantastic.
And just strong as fuck.
Yeah, Jen Smith did amazing as well.
Yeah.
But that whole battle of the 60 kilo class was fucking unreal. Steffi Cohen, like you said, did incredible. on the Saturday, like you said, of fucking awesome battles in every class. I think Les, he earned his win fair and square.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He competed brilliantly, and I think he's it's so funny to analyze powerlifting, to like look back at old comps and be able to piece together what these lifters should have been able to do and what the results could have been. At the end of the day, the results that happen on the day are the results, right?
Yeah.
So it's really easy to look at this judging call or that old comp where he could have done this, but like he really put it together. But that's also one of the hardest parts, especially at that level. It's like you can have the greatest, and we've talked about this before, but like you can have the greatest training prep in the world, but if you don't put it together on the day, that's a fucking sport, right?
Yeah.
So on his last deadlift, he was, I can't remember the numbers, but he was ahead by a bit, and he called a 12.5 kilo jump. I think it was about 12.5, and his second deadlift wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And he had the win within striking range if he jumped up like 5, but he decided to take the big jump. And I'm pretty sure the reason he took the big jump was to go, whether or not he realizes, he might have just done it because he thought that's what he could pull. But I'm pretty sure he went the highest ever 80 kilo total.
Yeah, right.
With 805 and the highest ever 80 kilo deadlift as well.
Yeah, nice.
But that deadlift was like the perfect attempt. Yeah. Any heavier, he would have dropped it, and that would have cost him the win.
Yeah, yeah.
So he made that call, and he just fucking confidently stuck with it.
Critters said that to me at one point, like, what did he attempt, 320 or was it 322?
322 he had to pull to win.
Yeah, so and Critter said to me he was good, he thinks he was good for like 312 to 317. So that last deadlift for Les really was like, it was the difference between...
Yeah, because Critter's second deadlift was fucking easy.
Yeah.
I think it was 300 or 305, somewhere in that region.
And he was always just going to take whatever he needs to win.
Of course. So that was a fucking cool battle. In the 95s, of course, there was the battle at the top for first and second. Yeah. Alex had unfortunately dropped out, which would have made it so interesting. He pulled a 350 yesterday that was fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, so I think that really would have changed things if he'd made it through bench, even if he just got one attempt. He's got such a great deadlift that it really would have pushed both Pat and Matt to be perfect.
So Dale was third.
Yeah.
And fuck, he was working for it. Like, he was trying real hard. He was deadlifting big deadlifts as heavy as he could, and they were hard, and he was just grinding them out. So he was giving it a fair crack. The performance on the 95s for me was actually fourth place, which was, again, biased, my lifter, Michael Hubert. But no one was expecting him to do what he did, right? So I think Michael's best total before that was mid-sevens, maybe 750 in September last year. He went 815. He squatted 330 for a third in front of Arnold, with Arnold right on the side there, which is fucking cool. He benched 185 and tore his pec on it, and then he came back and he pulled 300, which is 15 kilo PB, to go 815
with a torn pec as well.
And he had been put in the less qualified flight of 95, so he wasn't gunning for anything. He was just trying to build the biggest total that he could, and he ended up in fourth place in one of the most...
Which is pretty fucking cool, but it also speaks to the problem with the number of lifters.
Yeah, well, that's right.
The fact that the guy that comes fourth is in a second flight, you know, it just, I think you lose some of the atmosphere. Because I imagine maybe he was good for another 5 or 10 kilos if he had to, you know, like if he was in a position to know that 5 kilos on the deadlift would take him from fourth to third or something, like, I think it just makes it a bit more entertaining.
And the other lifters don't see it, and when you see someone that's kind of chasing your tail, it puts a little bit of
100%.
In your head, and that can really change things. If you stumble, it can really get in lifters' heads, and then that can ruin the day, and then the battles get closer. But again, this is all just like what could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, Stenzel did amazingly, and like you said, Stenzel had come in really confident in his numbers for the first time ever.
Yeah.
He was confident in where he was weak, so he did really well. He basically had the perfect day, and I believe he locked out his last deadlift and just unfortunately dropped it. It was a pretty long down call. Not blaming the refs or the reffing, but he was holding it up there for a while. Hands started opening, and that was it for him. But he was in such a great headspace and just conducted himself perfectly on the day, which was amazing. But you know, they ended up tying, and Pat had him on body weight.
Yeah,
so Pat walked away with the win.
And I think that, like you said, he said to me as well, like, I had the perfect day. And yeah, I think this is something that a lot of powerlifters miss is like you can't actually control what anyone else does.
Yep.
You turn up and you hit whatever you're capable of on the day, and it's either good enough or it's not, you know. And that the fact that he was happy, like I spoke to him afterwards, he was happy with how he performed, not devastated that he'd lost. Like obviously he would have loved to win, but I think the fact that you can walk away from a second place like that and still be really, really happy says a lot about how far he's come mindset-wise.
Yep. The 110s was crazy.
Yeah,
like
dude.
110s was insane. Will missed his opening and second squat and bench.
Yeah,
So,
he went, what, 5 from 9? Or,
yeah.
yeah, 5 from 9 and still won.
And he was rattled with those.
Yeah,
like
dude.
he was really, really shaken up by the fact that he was missing these lifts and close to bombing, and then still put it together on the deadlifts. But Sebastian lifted amazingly.
Yeah,
like
dude.
he had a fantastic day. Attempts were executed really nicely. A little bit of a kerfuffle on the third bench, just with the change of referees that caught out a few people.
I didn't see that. What happened there?
But we'll talk about that at the end, or like our criticisms and feedbacks on the comp, I guess. Yeah, the 110s in general, the quality was really, really high. I thought it was awesome because even in like the sort of 4th to 10th places, the totals were pretty fucking impressive. You know, so everyone did brilliantly there. And then going into the third day, of course, Dylan, you can't, like you say, you can't go past talking about Dylan. He went 455, 240, 410, first person to ever go over 1,000 and on the squat and 900 on the deadlift in the same meet. Massive PB total. Added 100 to his squat from last year, which is fucking unreal. He's just...
And it was all, like, the stuff that I've seen videos of, it all looked like there's still a lot there. Didn't he only take 2 deadlifts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so made the call after his second deadlift to leave it there. It was either that or 422. 422 would have put him, I think, 3rd or 4th all time. You know, there's a group of people that are all sitting on 11:15.
Yeah,
422 would have bumped him to 11:17.
Yeah, okay.
So he did amazing, and we've held him back selectively on the last few comps, just because there's no point.
Yeah.
Like he's still growing. There's no point.
And
in
he's still
pushing
really young too. He's only like what 23.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's got a good head on him, and he's doing really well. So it's only going to be a matter of time before he's number one, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
He's doing brilliantly.
Especially if he manages the transition into being a parent.
Yeah. He's about to have a baby, which is
I can speak
exciting.
from experience. It's not an easy transition.
Of course. So that'll be some trying times for him. But powerlifting's not going anywhere. He's not just going to magically
And the thing
get
is,
weaker.
he's young enough that he could take 2 years and like train consistently, but just put it slightly on the back burner.
Yeah.
And then come back, and he'll be a little bit stronger by then anyway. And then you just start ramping things up again, and suddenly he's the strongest dude in the world.
Yeah, exactly. The 125s are pretty insane as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I had the front row seat for that, competing in the 125s.
Thick, juicy Thomas. It's my favorite kind of Thomas.
Yeah. So you ended up with Edward won, I think.
Yeah.
He came first. So he was the guy from Finland who was meant to be in the 110s, but he was a bit heavy, so he jumped in the 125s. Ryan Williams competed pretty good. But Jamie Marshall from New Zealand, man, like that guy is a weapon. I've seen him compete a bunch of times, and he never seems to put it together on the day just because, I don't know, he just never seems to put it together on the day. A lot of people kind of writing him off, thinking that he was just going to squat high and miss his squats. He ended up squatting 390 and I think he got 3 whites on it. He definitely got it past anyway. Yeah. And that just set up his day to put up a fucking huge total. I think he ended up with 980 or high 9s anyway. So he did brilliantly on that day. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, nice.
And then the bench only comp for the men was really close.
Yeah.
You had Dean Ilgith and Andrew Coltabiano from Warrior Perform in Sydney, kind of going head to head there. Dean had a run at 250. Andrew ended up beating him, benching 255. Dean just missed out on his 250. I think that would have separated them on points by about 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kate Holt benched 147.5, weighing 70, I think.
Jesus.
She won the bench comp doing that. is unreal. Sarah Rodwell pulled a massive deadlift, won the deadlift only comp in the females. I'm just rattling off these names because they're my lifters as well, giving them shout outs because they did amazing.
Yeah.
The whole comp was just fucking awesome.
Yeah, man.
It was a great weekend.
It's a fucking hectic weekend.
Yeah. I got so sick. The Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was written off. Like, worst flu I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Just completely run down.
I think some people underestimate just how draining the environment like that is. And this is something we've talked about before, but I think the hardest part in that is to like not let the environment get the better of you.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy in an environment like that to, like, you know, you're in the warm-up room and there's fucking chain link fence around the whole thing and the music's blaring and...
Really blaring.
Yeah. Some would say excessively. And I think the lifters that do the best in that environment are the ones that use it selectively.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy. Like, fuck, man, I got jacked up standing on the side of the stage. Like, fuck yeah. Just standing there, you know? So to be able to, like, acknowledge how crazy the environment is and then not just ride the wave too heavily is what I think separates the best from, you know, the sort of mediocre lifters in there, is that by the end of especially on the Saturday, by the end of a day like that, if you have been like riding all the way up here all day, you're going to be absolutely wrecked.
For sure.
And because so many of these weight classes came down to the final deadlift, you want to come into deadlifts feeling pretty fresh.
Yeah. And I mean, even not lifting, like, you know what it's like from a coaching perspective. You get so caught up. And I had lifters in so many battles, and you just get so high on adrenaline in those moments. Dude. Like, people think the wrapping the knees part is hard. The wrapping knees is pretty easy. Yeah. I mean, it takes it out of you physically, but it's not the kind of draining that you feel like,
oh man,
fuck the next day. It's that running on adrenaline. Plus, I had help. Like, Benny Jeschke, I couldn't have done the weekend without that guy. He's one of my lifters. He trains at my gym quite a bit. He's just a fucking legend. He helped me out wrap a lot of knees. You helped me wrap Rocky on day 2 there. That helped me out a lot. Like, I had help with managing my lifters. That part is easy, but the numbers selecting when it's down to the wire, the sitting on adrenaline, the freaking out, the screaming when it's, you know, they have to get this lift. That's the stuff that sucks it out of you, along with all that stuff that you just said. Yeah,
and like I found... Like, I get caught up in it anyway.
Yeah.
But then, like, both Friday and Saturday, we finished recorded podcasts, and like, by the end of the day, I was just so wrecked.
It's destroyed.
And I think the, like, slightly introverted side of me, you spend the whole day talking to people. Like, I just want to go and sit by myself.
Yeah.
And, like, not talk to anyone and just kind of sit in a quiet room for a little while and
for sure
recharge, you know, because I think it's so... Like, it's just the atmosphere compared to any other comp I've been to is just something that I think is hard to match. Certainly in Australia, I don't see there being a comp in Australia that's got a better in-person atmosphere than something like Pro Raw.
And internationally as well. I've never been to anything that comes close to comparing.
Yeah. Like,
people talk about the US Open being a spectacle in the States. It's not an expo like that. It's not half the atmosphere. Even I've been inside the animal cage. The animal cage is wild, and it's not half as crazy as Pro Raw. Like, Pro Raw is next level. What about criticisms? What do you think we could do to make this comp better? What do you think's missing?
So my biggest criticism is the extra flight on the Saturday.
Yeah, that's a real problem.
Yeah, and like I totally understand where Marcus is coming from in that they need to be able to fill the whole day. Although I don't see how having the occasional half-hour break would ruin it, you know? Like, I don't...
But hang on, the Friday and the Sunday fill the whole day.
Exactly.
Like, we don't need that extra flight on the Saturday.
No, but that was always why Marcus justified it. At least from what I had seen.
Yeah. Unless you're talking about filling the whole comp with lifters from a financial perspective. Yeah, but that's what we spoke about.
Yeah, and that's a separate issue altogether. I think, having spoken to people, like the strongman guys pay $200 to compete. Yeah. They paid $100 to be a member of the, like, Arnold's Federation, $100 comp entry. Yeah. Everyone at Pro Raw is going to pay $200, $250 comfortably. Yeah. Because you want to be there. It's one of the best comps in the world. Like, you want to be there. You want that experience. So I think to really make it the truly elite of the elite, which I think perhaps moving to the Arnolds has diminished a little bit because of the need to spread it out over 3 days and make it a whole thing. Like, I'm a bit iffy on the whole single lift edition thing. I just don't really enjoy watching single lift lifting in the same way. But I can also, again, understand that you do need to be able to fill the day.
Yeah.
You know, so there's definitely that argument for it. But I think you could get some of the financial benefits from cutting the number of lifters down and just jacking the price up, because everyone's going to pay it.
Yeah.
Like, it just... And people who aren't going to pay it probably aren't going to get an invite.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be the sort of people that are worthy of getting an invite, you know? So...
It'd be so easy to do. Just maximum 1 flight per weight class.
Yep.
And even 10 lifters per weight class would be nice. And then I don't have that big a deal with the single lifts, but I think there's too many of them. I think if you're going to chuck in a single lift flight, make it like the max flight before you have to give them a break. So make it an 8 lifter flight or a 9 lifter flight with no break. Churn through it.
Yeah.
Like that'd be even less ideally.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you went a 5 lifter flight, 5 men, 5 women, there's 10 lifters in the single lift flight, then you don't need a break. You know, that would work as well. I think one of the biggest criticisms I had, not the reffing calls themselves, but the inconsistency in refs per flight or per round. So what I alluded to before in the 110s, you had 2 rounds, bench 1, bench 2, and then in bench 3, they swapped out a head ref to someone else.
Yeah, I'm always real sus on doing that in the middle of a round.
That's right, yeah. So the issue was not anything with the reffing calls, but all of a sudden this ref was more focused on the rule of having the handout person get off the platform than the ref previous to them, right? And that's, that's the right call anyway. The handoff person shouldn't be on the platform. But had that happened in the first round...
You can adjust for it.
You can adjust for that. And you could be like, okay, well, I know for the next 2 attempts I need to get off the platform. And with the opening attempt for the lifter, they should be able to hold it all day and still get the lift.
Yeah.
There were at least 3 lifters that kind of got caught off guard and potentially missed their lift because of that. And again, it's not anything to do with that particular ref.
No, but
that particular ref did a stellar job.
Yeah.
But that inconsistency in changes was
because you're always going to have differing interpretations of the rules and people looking at different pieces and stuff like that. That's the nature of a sport that's reffed by humans. But I think the consistency is the important thing. Like, if you're going to have long down calls, make every deadlift have a long down call. Like, it shouldn't change inside one flight.
And you'll get that consistency if the same person's in the same chair for that flight, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Because we can sit here and there's a lot of debated calls and all that shit on the weekend.
But there always
with
is.
every comp.
Yeah.
That's not for us to talk. We don't care about that.
No.
Right. For me, it's like the consistency of the person in that chair for that flight needs to be enforced.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna get these controversies that pop up.
Yeah.
Because that would not have been an issue if it was the same person for the whole
And potentially that ends up being the difference between a win and a second place. You know?
Yeah. And in this case, it very may well have been. So that would be my major criticism. Otherwise, it's pretty hard to fault. Like,
man, the setup, it's one of the best equipped warm up rooms you'll find anywhere.
Man, it's better equipped than most gyms in the country.
I didn't like not having a screen visible to the public.
Yeah.
With the lifting order and where people are at. Like, obviously I'm well known enough around Pro Raw that I can come in and out of the warm up room and look at the screen in the back.
Yeah.
Marcus's argument is always that people don't understand it anyway, so what's the point? But powerlifters understand what it is. If you've ever been to a powerlifting meet before, you've probably seen the next lifter spreadsheet. I think it's still not as good as the other options that are out there.
I was going to say, get rid of the spreadsheet and just have a better system that can explain to the people watching what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, because at one point, so if you haven't seen Pro Raw this year, they had a giant video screen above the platform that for most of the days was playing the powerlifting live, and it was the live stream feed, so it had the little box in the corner with the lifter's name and the weight. But at some point when Arnie was there, they were showing him on the live stream, and so no one in the crowd knew what was going on.
Yeah,
they didn't know what the weights were because you couldn't really hear Tim that well in the crowd. I think because the music's too loud.
The music's definitely too loud.
That's one of my other gripes. Like, I'm all for atmosphere created by music. There's definitely a role that plays. But when it's so loud that you have to shout at the person next to you, it's just unpleasant to be around.
And I know that the organisers like the loud music. Part of it, I wonder if it's almost a necessity because everything else is so fucking loud as well, which makes it hard. It's like we want to be heard and seen, so we have to be loud.
Yeah.
Because the calisthenics people across the road, they were really fucking loud.
Yeah.
And like if we had turned it down, you probably wouldn't be able to hear us, you know?
Yeah, but I think that like Pro Raw is now so big at the Arnolds, it doesn't need to be heard. It's seen. Like, you couldn't fucking avoid.
Like, you walked in.
It was right in front of the front door. So I think the argument like, oh, we need to be heard is maybe a little bit less relevant than it could be, because I agree with you. Everyone around that place was really fucking loud. But when it's so loud that people are like, well, I can't sit here and watch this because it hurts my ears. Mm-hmm. You know, like that, it makes it less pleasant to be there for the spectators.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm all for comps should be about the lifters and enjoy them having a good experience. Everything else comes second to that.
Yeah.
And I think even some of the lifters probably didn't like how loud that music was.
Yeah. One thing that's always going to come up with comps is like the backroom enforcement, you know? People going back there. I think Pro Raw's done a fucking awesome job of making the backroom so big that even when it's not enforced, there's enough room for all the stragglers. However, it is fucking annoying. Like, as a coach and as a lifter, especially as a coach, running back and forth from the stage to the next person to rap, and you're having to like, excuse me, sorry, every 5 seconds, and like swim through a sea of people that shouldn't be back there is kind of annoying. It's hard though. Like, any comp I've been to that has tried to enforce it has failed.
We've done it successfully here once. Mm-hmm. We had wristbands. I
think one of the only big comps that I can remember that's done it really well as GPC Nats when it was on the Gold Coast. 15 and was it on the Gold Coast in 16? I think it was.
14, 15, 16.
Yeah, 15 and 16. They had a security guard that was like really stringent about it. And at one point this week, in the Arnold's weekend, they had a security guard, but he wasn't checking anyone. So on the Saturday and Sunday, it was pretty heavily congested back there, especially on the Saturday when you had 4 flights of lifters. Each lifter allowed 3 handlers, plus any stragglers that came through. Like, there were a lot of people back there at times, which was a little bit annoying. Yeah. Especially with like the deadlift platforms are right in the middle where the TVs were.
And that's the thing is, I think the position of the TVs needed work.
Yeah.
But I also think that if there was a screen with the score sheet on it outside the warm-up room, you potentially would have eased some of that congestion, because, like, I just walked in there. I wasn't coaching anyone. I just wanted to see the score sheet and see where it's at. But there's nowhere else to view it, you know? So I think that's definitely something that could be worked on.
How fucking cool is it that this is the stuff we're picking
up? Yeah, 100%. Like
this is such meat director stuff, right?
Yeah, dude. And that's the...
Because no one else would know this shit. Like,
no, and that's the difference between someone who goes to powerlifting meets and someone who runs powerlifting meets.
Yeah.
Like, these are the... You know, even down to the way our gym is set up, I am constantly thinking about how we can make our comps better.
Yeah.
Like, when we laid out this facility, it was about, okay, how do we do this comps so that it makes comps smooth as possible?
Yeah.
And you haven't been here for a comp before, have you?
No, this will be the first one.
Yeah, so you'll see tomorrow that, like, it'll be it's well set up. There's a really obvious divide between the warm-up area and the lifting area. The the crowd is big enough, the space for the crowd is big enough that they don't end up in the warm-up room. And to be honest, I just go out into the warm-up room and yell at people occasionally. Yep. Not, like, super aggressive, I'm going to shout in your face way, but, like, just explain to people that, hey, we need you to get out of here because this isn't your space. Yep. You shouldn't be here. I think that's the hard part with that idea at Pro Raw, is that because the crowd's so big, if you're not lifting, it's actually kind of nice to be in the warm-up area and just kind of sit in a corner and not have to be in the middle of the crowd.
Yeah.
Because you can guarantee you'll get a seat. Like, if you get up and you go and warm up and you do your lifting and then you come back to the crowd, someone's sitting in your seat.
Yeah.
unless you've got a whole crew with you, you know. So that's potentially part of why it ends up so congested. But
man, Pro Raw. I'm so excited for whatever's Marcus and Emad have in store for next year, because like thinking back, Pro Raw 6 was my favorite until Pro Raw 9, and then 9, 10, 11 have just gotten exponentially better every year. So if the improvement rate has been anything like it's been like the next 3 years, next year is going to be fucking unreal.
Yeah, man.
Which is really cool.
It's exciting times.
Yeah. Happy to end it there?
Yeah, I think we've said all that needs to be said about Pro Raw.
We can fist bump.
In person fist bumps. My skin touch Thomas's.
Yes. At Josh Scherer, at TomBro7, at Burley Strength, at Zero Weakness.
Share it with your friends.
At Tell Your Mum, at 5-Star Review, at Goodbye.